Welcome everyone to our live webinar here at QCamp this afternoon, the new sister company of Situated Research. Our live presentation today is called Social Media 101, Becoming an Expert. And this is the third webinar in our Social Media Marketing 101 series. Before we begin, I just want to give you a brief introduction to QCamp and our team. Here at QCamp, we offer a wide range of services from web design to social media analytics. In fact, this summer we will be introducing IQ, a new piece of software that our team is currently developing. IQ will pull data from our clients' social media outlets and give our clients useful information about their online marketing efforts. So there's a lot of new and exciting things happening here at QCamp. For today's webinar, we're going to do something a little bit different that we've done in this series so far. We're going to take questions throughout the webinar. So as you think of those questions, go ahead and type them in your questions box in your upper right-hand corner in the GoToWebinar screen. Today's session will be recorded and available to you by the end of the day. If you should have any questions, comments, or testimonials from today's webinar or the webinar series, please do email us at info@qcamp.com. Today you will all be muted. As I stated before the session, we have over 1,500 people attending this afternoon, so we have to mute everyone. And we hope that you'll enjoy today's session, get a lot out of it. Usually in our social media webinar series, we tend to go over a little bit. So that means that we give a lot of good, useful information. So have something available so that you can go ahead and take notes. So as I stated earlier, this is part 3 of 5 in our social media marketing series. And this series is teaching you how to turn your business into a social enterprise. It's also been teaching you how to do effective blogging practices and how to get your content shared and start positive discussions about your product or business online. During this series, we've also talked a little bit about generating leads through social media and visits to your website. And as we progress in the webinar for part 4 and part 5, we'll talk more about generating leads. We've also talked about how to push your message out to pull clients in. We've shown you research-proven best practices for selecting interactive, usable website content, and will continue to do so. And lastly, we will talk about the integration of your brand on your website, ads, apps, social media pages, and your company blog. But for today's session, part 3 of this great webinar series, we have a few topics that we will talk about today. The first is we will discuss the top 10 strategies to become a go-to resource on social networks. We'll also talk about how to pick significant resources to share. We'll then discuss the top 5 links for credible sources with detailed examples. We'll then talk about best practices for maintaining discussions and getting others to share your content. And lastly, we will talk about using your marketing analytics to test your campaigns and get the best results. So a question I want everyone to ask themselves right now is, do you consider yourself to be an expert in your industry right now, today? Do you currently post on your social media outlets as if you are an expert? Well, hopefully the answer to both of these are yes. But if not, we're going to teach you today how to become an expert online. In this webinar series, we've talked about social networking versus traditional networking and what the differences are. So I just want to touch upon today, if you're new to the series, what social networking is. Social networking is an online networking tool where a person can network with anyone around the world, with as many people as they want, sharing their ideas, interests, and their blog posts. There's no travel involved, and it's very cost effective. You can reach more people and build communities of networks for your business. So some social networks that we've talked about in this webinar series are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and blogging. And there are many more out there, but these are the main ones that we want to talk about and hone in on. Because here at QCamp and our parent company, Situated Research, these are the social media networks that have really helped us to gain the clientele that we have today. So we've talked about LinkedIn in the social media series. But if you have never worked with LinkedIn before or you haven't been following the series, LinkedIn is a professional network where you can network with other professionals. It connects you to your trusted contacts and it helps you to exchange knowledge, ideas, and opportunities with a broader network of professionals. You can definitely share your blog posts on LinkedIn. You can generate a profile. You can start discussions, and you can make anything that you want private. You can add who you want as a connection in your network. Here is a screenshot of my actual LinkedIn profile page. We talked about this in the earlier webinars of this series, that with LinkedIn and any other social network, you want to make sure that you have a complete profile. This means a good professional photo of yourself, your name, your title, a good summary that has good keywords and describes exactly what you do, what you have to offer, and what you've done in the past, as well as showcasing your experience and case studies of work examples. So becoming an expert really means you have to own it. You have to know what you're doing. You have to leverage your credentials. Develop your skills within your industry. Subscribe to social networks. Promote yourself. Consult. Speak. Do webinars. Conduct surveys online. You can even publish or have composed your own newsletters. You can form a group, as we talked about yesterday on our social media webinar. And we talked about building relationships, and a great way to do that is to form a group. And you can also become an expert through your own website. So today we're going to have some tips for you. And the first tip is for you to own it. So you don't want to be the shy person on the internet. You want to own it. You want to be that go-to person that people come to and ask questions of. You have to own it. So you have to believe what you're posting. You have to claim it. Get over any fears that you might have. So as a title for a post that I might put social media expert. I might put social analytics specialist. These are all key words that people are going to hone in on and be like, oh, she's a social media expert. I need to talk to her. And if you do that, others will follow you. Tip number 2 is leverage your credentials. Leverage your education, whether it be a bachelor's, master's, or a PhD, associates, or you certainly have certificates. Put it out there. Let people know. Publish them everywhere on your social networks, your profiles, salutations and emails, letters, correspondence, anything that you can get out to a bunch of people. Tip 3 is develop your skills. A great way to do this is for people to learn from you. You can learn as well by taking classes, going to school, going to seminars, but the biggest thing is giving webinars like we are today. And also reading up on topics within your industry to stay on top of everything. Tip number 4 today is subscribe. Subscribe to publications. Make sure that people have heard of the publications. Make sure they're reliable sources. They're well-known and recent, up-to-date. For your social networks, watch our first webinar, the Social Media 101, How to Start a Business Marketing Plan. We go through each of these steps in great detail. Subscribe to magazines, clubs, and groups. This will give you a great pool of information to pull from when you want to post something on your social media outlets. Now, tip number 5 is promote. Have your bio up to date, showing off your expertise and your knowledge. In your social networks, make sure that you are keeping your status messages up to date. And for advertising in local papers and local events are a great way to promote your business. With your status messages, make sure that you link to your company's website. Share something interesting. And remember, you're an expert. You can even link to your company blog, but just be careful on your status messages. Just make sure it's professional. And update your status messages daily. So as an example, we have Michelle is really excited to share her new blog post with you. What makes a website work? Come check it out. And I give the link. So I'm excited. I'm broadcasting a new blog post that we wrote, and I have the link for you to go to see our website as well as our blog. Tip number 6 is consult, do speaking engagements, and of course do webinars. These are naturally viewed as you being an expert. Do one-on-one services. These are reasonably priced, great services, and make sure that they're interesting and worthwhile. You can also do group coaching services. So same as the above apply. Speaking engagements are great. Once you start to become an expert online, people will start asking you to come speak in your local area. So local clubs such as your chambers of commerce, your BNI groups, your league club groups, even church groups. It's reasonably priced and it's free to start. Make sure that the topics that you talk about at these speaking engagements are interesting, and run it by people you know before offering anything. With webinars, GoToWebinar is a great platform, which we of course use here at QCamp and Situated Research. There are many platforms that you can use, but GoToWebinar seems to be the best for us. They have a free 30-day trial, reasonable monthly fees, and it's easy to use and promote your webinars. Make sure, though, that when you're doing webinars that you keep the topics interesting and provide a service to help people. So if you'd like to learn more about giving your own webinar, would like some advice, want to know what kind of hiccups we've had and what not to do, you can email me directly at info@qcamp.com, and I would be more than happy to answer those questions for you. And we actually have a question right now that states that they've tried to use GoToWebinar in the past, but for the free trial, they were only allowed 100 members to attend, 100 attendees. How do you get around that? Well, how you get around that is the 30-day trial is just for you to try it out. So what you would need to do is then pay for a subscription in order to have more than 100 attendees. So that's how you would get around that. Okay, so tip number 7 today is surveys. Surveys are great for showing your expertise. You can give free surveys through emails, through groups, people you know, and you can use resources such as SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey is a great survey tool to get surveys out to people on the internet and to get the data back as well. It gives you reports and analytics on the responses that you get, and it's a great measuring tool. You can then publish your findings on social networks, and blogs are a great one. It can be a blog post. Tip number 8 is publish and produce newsletters. Trade newsletters within your industry are great sources for you, not only to get information from, but to give information to. So you can contact trade newsletters and ask to put an article in the newsletter, ask to put a small little snippet in the newsletter. Newspapers are great as well. Try your local papers first. And for business, sometimes they give you free advertising. You become an instant expert. You gain that status right away. And you can also syndicate your own column. Contact your local paper for more details. So with newsletters, you can always promote your newsletters in your blog by using WordPress or Blogger. Usually WordPress is the best one to use. We've talked about this in the social media series. Electronic newsletters are great. You can use iPublish software. They have templates for newsletters. Just keep it up. If you start something, keep it up. We suggest doing a monthly newsletter and just mark your calendar so you don't forget. The worst thing to do is to gain followers and subscribers and then let it fall by the wayside and not keep it up. Tip number 9 is form a group, and we discussed this in our last webinar, in the second webinar, Building Relationships, Online Groups and Brands. And so we talked about hosting an online group through LinkedIn and establishing yourself as an expert. So people will know that you started the group. They will know why you started it. You'll have a bio of what the group will offer, the benefits for members, and just remember, keep it up and keep it interesting. And for more details on how to start your own online group on LinkedIn, visit the second webinar in our Social Media Marketing 101 series. So the best thing that you can do when you want to start an online group is to go onto LinkedIn, type in the keywords that you want your group name to be, and push groups. Click on groups. And then a bunch of groups will come up. So we put in Chicago networking just to see how many groups would come up, and 907 groups came up. Now, we started the Naperville Business Networking Group here in our local area. And when we first started it, there were, I think, 120 groups in Naperville. And now we're number 2 on the list. So you can grow your group very quickly, and you can be number 1, 2, 3, 4 on the list, as long as you know how to broadcast your new group, make things interesting, and keep it up to date. So creating a group is easy. We talked about this in the second webinar, Building Relationships, Online Groups, and Brands. Creating a group within LinkedIn is very simple. Simply picking a logo or designing a logo, putting in your group name, your group type, so put in networking group, and then a summary and a full description and a link to your website. It's that easy. And then you start your group. Usability Testing Chicago. This is a group that we started just for this webinar's purpose. But you can see how you can start discussions. Just enter a topic or question, additional details, and submit for discussion. And your discussion will go out to your group. Tip number 10 is your website. Make sure your website is professional and up to date. Make sure that your website is easy to use, has clean lines, is good quality. Don't use templates. Make sure it's custom so you set yourself apart from the rest, and hire someone to do it. We have a great webinar on taking your website to the next level, which is listed under our YouTube channel and our Facebook page so that you can go ahead and view that webinar. So I want to give you some examples of some discussions that have been started. So here we started a discussion on the American Educational Research Association group on LinkedIn. And we said, can video games in the classroom be useful in teaching subjects to students? This is through our Situated Research company. And we posted this. We posted a question. We wrote who wrote the post. If you wanted to learn more, here was a link to our website. And we received a few comments. And comments are great. From the webinar that we did the other day on building relationships, online groups, and brands, we actually talked about comments and how after you put up a discussion on LinkedIn and someone comments, you need to respond back to them. So whether the comment's good, bad, doesn't need a comment back, you still do it. So it's maintaining a pulse on your online groups. Here we wrote another post on a group, and I just want to show you that we put the source of where we got the information because we didn't write this. So we're sharing third-party information with people who are following us. So we definitely put in the source so that way people could reference back and that they got credit for what they wrote. Here's another discussion that we started, some tips on making your software more user-friendly. And we gave some tips, asked some questions, and gave a link to our website. And we received 4 comments. So people agreed with what we wrote. Some people didn't. Some people wrote some funny things, so we responded back to them. And it kept the conversation going for quite a long time. So how do you pick significant resources to share? Make sure that the sources that you're picking are reliable. Make sure that they have many followers. Make sure they're websites that people have heard of, like the Wall Street Journal or your local paper or Mashable.com, MSN, websites within your industry. Evaluate the credibility. Is there any evidence that the author of the web info has some authority in the field? What are their qualifications? Is the information accurate and current? If a blog, do they have good comments after their posts, or are people arguing with them? You don't want to post something that already has controversy because you do not want to be a part of it. So now let's talk about marketing analytics to test your campaigns. Google Analytics is a great tool to use. It just requires you to put in a couple lines of code on each page of your website so that it can monitor each page. It helps to track the traffic, demographics, bounce rates, and average time on your pages. So I'm going to actually show you our Google Analytics here at QCamp. And so you simply have an account, you log in, you put the code, they give you the code to put within the code of every page of your website. You then have a list of your websites that you manage, and you can go to your dashboard. And this is Google Analytics. It's free for everybody. You just have to have a Gmail account. So here we have an audience overview. And you can see how many people have come to our website, how many are new visitors, how many are returning visitors. You can put in certain date ranges if you'd like to customize that as well. You can look at it hourly. You can look at it by the day. You can look at the statistics by the week or the month. You can see what language people are speaking that come to your site, what system browsers they're using, what mobile devices they're using. You can also look at the demographics in more detail. You can look at an overview, so I can see the age groups. I can also specifically look at ages and see what specific ages are coming to our site, gender as well. Then we can look at interests. We can do an overview and look at this information as well. So there's a lot of good information that can come of this. We can look at behavior and actually look at how many page views we're getting per day. What's the average time on a page? Almost 3 minutes, that's really good. What is your bounce rate? Everybody has at least 85%, so 66 is pretty good. What's the exit rate? 34%, and then I can see the pages that people are visiting most often. And that can help me gear a campaign as well. Can look at conversations too, and we can put in goals. So here we can have an overview of goals. We can actually put in our goals and any campaigns that we're doing. So this is a free tool within Google Analytics that you can use and monitor your website. So the bottom line is you want to build solid relationships online. Success plus posting to your social media outlets, your outcome is building a big group of people to network with. So a company wants to start building relationships. So they do some social media marketing and use our strategy. They join networks. Then they post to their social media outlets. They post interesting, attention-grabbing content. That could consist of videos, URLs, articles, blog posts, etc. And the outcome is they build their online network. They grow their network of followers. So the stages of relationship building, the first stage is establishing yourself as an expert. Stage 2 is posting interesting and relevant content. Make sure that that content is helping your current network of people. Gauge with metrics what your network wants. Stage 3 is start discussions. Make sure they're interesting and to the point. Stage 4 is contribute and maintain a pulse on all social media platforms. So establishing a schedule that works will really help with this stage. And stage 5 is offer advice. The phases of social equity are awareness, which gives you low equity, value, and fun, and qualifies fans and followers. Phase 2 is engagement, which gives you medium equity. It increases long-term communication as well. And phase 3 is social commerce. This gives you high equity. It's a product review, exclusive pricing, product previews, and registration. So you get that awareness. So you go to your social media outlet, you post something, you get some engagement, and then you gain awareness. Establish an editorial calendar. Choose a specific schedule for days you want to post. Then under those days, put what you'll post, an article, a video, whatever you want. Spice it up a bit. Don't do the same thing. Don't always post an article. Post a video one time, post an article the next, post a tip the next time. Your calendar will help you to stay on track and organize your content. Just make sure that you're consistent and refer to the calendar when you need content ideas. Be transparent and authentic. Don't be evasive. People can figure this out so quickly on the internet. Make sure that you're authentic. That way you gain trust from people online. Offer your name, title, organization, your experience, and your company's website URL. Admit your interests in the topic. Define your credibility. And be consistent across all social media outlets. So think conversation, not campaign. Don't focus on selling your product or your service. Ask questions and respond back to those who comment. Provoke engaging dialogue. This is very important because this will help you to earn a reputation online. Be an expert. Be the expert in your industry. Write about what you know and offer insights to those who ask for it. Offer links to resources you find. Those authors might return the favor to you. And when consumers trust your content, they'll trust your products and services. Have rules of engagement. Know what to do with negative comments. Determine who will be involved in responses to those negative comments, because it does happen. Not everyone agrees with what you're going to post. Admit your mistakes if you've made a mistake, and thank those who bring it to your attention. And something to say to that is don't ever, ever, ever join an argument online. Don't contribute to the argument. Simply post something that says, you know what, I made a mistake. I apologize. Thank you so-and-so for bringing it to my attention. I hope I will not make the same mistake again. And leave it as that, because there's a record of your conversation online and it shows your character and who you are. So respond kindly. Turn brand detractors into advocates. If you disagree, give supporting documentation to people showing why you disagree, supporting your argument. So what to post? You can post blog posts. You can post on your status messages webinars that are coming up. You can post articles that you found. Maybe you're reading the Wall Street Journal in the morning and you found an article. So you went online, found the online source and shared it. You can share an image and you can also share videos. So you find an item to post. You post it on your website, your status messages. And when you post to your status messages, make sure that you're linking back to your website. You can post to your group announcements, like on LinkedIn. And you, of course, can do email as well for subscribers who are on your email list for your company. The full cycle is you want to post to your website. You want to post to your status messages. Then people will click and be interested. They'll be brought to your website. You'll gain leads from that, and they'll see your website and get to learn more about you and your company. So some homework that I want you guys to kind of take a look at and do, create an editorial calendar. So far in this series, we've given you a couple of homework assignments. And so at this point, you should be coming up with a calendar. What are you going to post? When are you going to post it? Create rules of engagement. Figure out what are you going to do if there's disputes within a discussion that you post or a discussion that you respond to and someone doesn't like what you said. And share your expectations with everyone who's involved. Also, your homework is, if you haven't so far, belong to a social network. If you haven't belonged to one yet and you're just watching the series, sign up for at least one today and try it out. You'll start to feel like an expert. Just put it into practice, one tip today, and just try it for a week. And let me know the results. I want you to email me at info@qcamp.com and let me know what the results are. So I want to thank everyone for attending today. Again, this webinar was the third webinar in our Social Media Marketing Series 101, and it was Becoming an Expert. So if you'd like to review the other recordings or get up to date on the upcoming webinar schedule, visit us on the internet at www.qcamp.com. You can also email us at info@qcamp.com. So when you do your homework, email me and let me know how it's going. And you can call us as well. The hashtag for today's webinar was QCamp, SMMWS. So you can follow us along on Twitter. Again, we want to thank everyone for attending our live webinar today here at QCamp. And thank you again.